Hey, good afternoon to my 6th grade students. I'm going to be going over the figurative language now for our chapters. I realize the yellow is kind of hard to see, so I'll go over and let you know what we're looking at. So the first thing in chapter 4, and we're going to start on chapter 4 here with Froze Up Southern Folks. You should have already listened to the other video where I read the chapters before you're looking at the analysis of the chapters. So the first thing on this page you'll see is I've got a hyperbole marked over here, and it says here that she still thought cold weather could kill you in a flash. So kill you in a flash is a hyperbole. It's an extreme exaggeration. The anaphora is the repetition of phrases to bring attention to something, and this is kind of a short anaphora, but it says, we wore so many clothes that when we pulled our final coat on, we could barely move our eyes. We wore so many clothes, so it's talking about the clothes there, and they repeat it a couple of times to draw attention to that, and that's called an anaphora. And then imitations is one of your vocabulary words. You turn the page. On this page we have a couple of similes and a couple of personifications. A simile, if you remember, is a comparison that uses like or as. So we have Joey looking like a zombie on this one. And then here we have Joey is like a little oven. So in both of these we have a comparison being made. The first one is what Joey looking like a zombie, and the second one is Joey's smell, which is like an oven. We go, then you have the pomade is one of your vocabulary words, so look that one up. Next, we have a couple of personifications, and this is talking about those boots. Guess those boots grab hold really tight. So this is saying that once the boots get hold of your shoes, well, obviously boots can't hold on to anything. So that is a personification. And then down here it says that the harder the boot sucked your shoe back in, still a personification. So a boot can't do that. A boot can't suck your shoe back in. On the next page, it says, we have a simile over here. It says there's a funny sound like water going down the drain. So the sound is being compared to water going down a drain. Okay, the next page. In this one it says, I bet we looked like the solar system. If we are being compared to a solar system, that's a simile. With me being the sun and Byron being the orbiting earth. It says me. With a metaphor, you're looking at a comparison where it says something is something else. So it's me is the sun. I mean, I know it says being, but that's the comparison being made. And Byron is the earth. So that is a metaphor. It's a direct comparison that's being made between two things. And orbiting is one of your vocabulary words. This page contains a better example of the anaphora. So this is have you ever noticed, and 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 did you notice? So that's a really good example of an anaphora where there's a phrase that's being repeated over and over again to draw attention to something that's happening. Here we have hypnotized. On the next page, that's one of your vocabulary words. We have an alliteration. Now, there's two kinds of alliteration. An alliteration is the repetition of sounds. So there are two kinds. One of them is where there's a repetition of vowel sounds. The other one is a repetition of consonant sounds. So this one is an example of consonants where it says country cornflake and cockeyed Kenny. That's the hard C sound or K sound being repeated over and over again at the beginning of words in the same sentence. Let's turn the page. Here we have an example of an allusion. It says, maybe I'm going to have to talk to him like that woman in The Miracle Worker. So, if you got a second, look that up and see what the miracle worker is so you have a better understanding of what that allusion is. But the book was written, the movie was made quite several years ago, and if you lived during that time, you would have known what that was referring to. But it's using sign language and stuff to talk to someone. But that allusion is something that's referencing material or a person that everyone should understand. Okay, onomatopoeia is when we use words to make sounds or to spell out sounds. So whack, 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 whack. That is an example of onomatopoeia. Next page, we have another allusion over here. This allusion is to Sugar Ray Robinson. Sugar Ray Robinson was a famous boxer. So that allusion is being made on that page. If we go over to the next page, it says to get jacked up. Well, that's an example of an idiom. We're not putting someone on a jack stand and jacking them up, but getting jacked up are words that basically mean to get beat up, but that's not what they're saying. They're using some of the terms that were used at that time by, in this case, like middle schoolers, to describe getting beat up. And then we have 2 of your vocabulary words. And that's it for Chapter 4. Let's go on to Chapter 5. This is the Nazi parachutes attack America and get shot down over the Flint River by Captain Byron Watson and his flamethrower of death. On the next page, we have an example of onomatopoeia, where it says glub, glub, glub. It's where it's making those or spelling out sounds. The next page, we have a simile, where it says the whole upstairs smelled like a giant match. So if the upstairs is being compared to, the smell of the upstairs is being compared to a giant match, that is a simile. The personification down a little bit further on that page says the door jumped out of her way and banged into the bathtub. Obviously, the door can't do that. It's kind of a funny image of a door like going, when somebody's coming at it really quick. But in this case, that's personification. It's when inanimate objects are given human characteristics. I always think about Beauty and the Beast when I think about personification. Next, we have a couple of similes on the next page. It says he looked like one of those ballerinas that dance around on the tip of their toes. And then on this one, it says Mama had her hand around his throat like it was a baseball bat. So both of those are comparisons using like or as. Then we have a hyperbole, which is an extreme exaggeration. Mama's eyes got slitty with eyeballs shooting around from side to side. Makes her sound like she's got snake eyes or something going on there. Pretty sure she doesn't actually. Down at the bottom of that page, you have strangling, which is one of your vocabulary words. Oh, and just in case you're kind of like struggling to keep up or something, just pause the video and get your stuff marked and written on for that page. Get your annotations taken care of. On the next page, we have another simile. This says Mama's voice got strange like a hissing snake. Comparison being made using like or as. Bottom of that page, we have the word accent, which is one of your vocabulary words. The next page, we have the word influence, which is another one of your vocabulary words. Next page, we have the word traitor, which is another one of your vocabulary words. On the next page, we have a metaphor. Metaphors we don't see as often as similes. It is more difficult, I think, when you're writing to use a metaphor than it is to use a simile. But a metaphor is a direct comparison. So Mama's horrible snake woman voice came out again. So Mama's voice is being compared to a snake woman, but we didn't use like or as. So that is a metaphor. And on the last page of that chapter, we got a few things going on. First, I have that we have a simile here. Let's just read through this part. First, it says Byron's eyes Byron closed his eyes and screamed. Right when the fire was going to give him a good roasting, Joetta ran across the room and, sounding like the little engine that thought it could, she blew the match out. So first of all, we have an illusion. I'm sure most of you have probably read the story of the little engine that could. So that's the illusion that's being made there, referencing something we should know. But what is being compared in this one is the question that I ask, because it says, here's the word like sounding like the little engine that could. What is being made? What comparison is being made in there? What sounds like the little engine that could? So that one is a simile because it uses the like or as, but we have to be careful about what is being compared in that one. So, discuss it with your neighbor when you get to that point and see if you can figure out what's being compared. Okay, and chapter 6, Swedish creams and welfare cheese. First of all, on that next page of that chapter, we have whack, whack, whack. There's an example of that onomatopoeia, where it's making sounds. The next one, we have peon. It's an interesting word. Just one that you should know what it means, so look that one up. Here's an idiom that says, and he dropped the bomb on me. We know what that means. We know he didn't take a bomb out of the tree and drop it on him or anything like that. We know that it means that he told him something that was completely unexpected. Turn the page. We have another illusion. It's got that, there's our vocabulary word again, the peon, but that was on the other page. But it says, didn't you see the Magnificent Seven? So that's an allusion to a movie being made there. There are a few allusions in this story, aren't there? And then we also have a vocabulary word, welfare, that is on that page. Okay, turn the page. On this page it says it went by like a little flying saucer, then crashed in the dirt. Make sure when you have a simile that's like this, so when I give you quizzes over this stuff, I might ask something like, what went by like a flying saucer? And you would have to tell me what it was that went flying by like a flying saucer. And then a little further down it says he dropped out of the tree like a superhero. So I have that as both a simile and a hyperbole. First of all, Byron's not looking like any superhero, so that's why it's kind of a hyperbole. And if a superhero is dropping out of something, it's usually not a tree. It's, flying from a tall building or something like that, or it's Spider-Man coming out from a skyscraper. So it's a little bit of a hyperbole there, but it's also a simile because the way that he comes down out of that tree is being compared to a superhero. And I've turned the page. Now we have this whole illusion up here. It says talking about the bird wings and what it looked like with its poor little dead self. But it says, and its wings sticking out like that, it looked like a perfect letter T. So which one there is the simile? That would be my question for you on that one. Which one is the simile? So figure out which one is making a comparison, because there's two likes in that sentence. One of them is a simile. One of them is part of the sentence. So that would probably also be a very good quiz question when I return and I'm quizzing you over the figurative language. The next one we have hyperbole. I've seen a million people through a million things. Obviously, he hasn't seen that many, or that would have been all he'd done so far in his life. So that is an extreme exaggeration, a hyperbole. And finally, on this last page, we have the word conscience. That was one of your spelling words not very long ago. So hopefully that's not too difficult for you to look up and find all the information on. All right, that's it for chapters 4, 5, and 6.